Hi, I'm Dr. Christine Aramburu Alegría, owner of Embracing Transformations. I am a nurse and social psychologist and a former university faculty member of 20 years, and I've been involved with the transgender community for nearly that long. I help transgender and other gender expansive persons and their loved ones who may feel confused, scared, frustrated, lost, alone, anxious, or who are transitioning live authentically in a world that doesn't make it easy. I provide education, coaching, and consulting services. Contact me if you'd like a complimentary 30-minute session. So welcome for this first session of Q&A. Many great questions came in, and today I will be responding to 5 of them. Please tune in monthly as I present more Q&A sessions. As the questions are anonymous, I will be responding very generally. For more specific information, please schedule a session with me or with another trusted resource. All right, getting started. Question number 1. What is gender fluidity? Is it really possible to be a man one day and a woman the next day? This is a good question. It's natural to be confused by what we once took for granted, that is, somebody's gender, as no longer a given. When we are born, unless the genitalia is ambiguous, that is, intersex, we are assigned a gender based on that external genitalia, and we are raised and socialized in that gender. However, we are learning that gender identity, how we identify, is not always binary. Gender identity can be fluid. Someone may identify as a man, a woman, neither, or both. And this identity can fluctuate from day to day, as may their gender expression, that is, how they present outwardly. They may present as feminine, masculine, neither, or both. In my experience, I've had individuals tell me, some days I feel more like a man, and some days I feel more like a woman. How they present themselves is based on that, be it clothing, makeup, hair, mannerisms, etc. However, it's also critical to remember that we cannot determine someone's gender identity based on their observable presentation. For example, the most masculine appearing man may identify as a woman within. So don't assume. If the situation calls for it, you may want to ask them how they would like to be addressed or what pronouns they prefer. So this is one way to communicate respect and acceptance, which of course is always so important for everyone. Question number 2. How can I best support a loved one who I suspect may be going through gender identity crisis, but they have not opened up about it to anyone yet? Thank you for this question. This is so important, and it can make all the difference in the world for your loved one. But I know it may be difficult for you to watch them struggle and yet not say anything. There are a couple of points I'd like to make for starters. First, many times an individual may not have the language or know how to articulate what they are feeling or who they are. They may not be sure themselves. They may be processing and exploring within before they are ready to open up. Second, for most gender diverse persons, coming out creates a lot of anxiety and fear, and it takes courage to open up. Rejection is a very common fear. So, how can you best support a loved one? Follow their lead. They need to be the one who brings it up. Look at your relationship with them. Do they know they have your support in general? Do you have good communication with them? That said, keep your eyes open for possibilities, for opportunities to let them know that you are there for them. For example, if you are watching a program or the news and an LGBT theme comes up, you might take that opportunity to express your support for people to live authentically in who they are. But again, follow their lead and keep communication open. Having someone in your corner can make all the difference in achieving a healthy adjustment. Question 3. When is an appropriate time to come out at work? I work for a fairly conservative financial firm and am torn between keeping the peace and living authentically. This is an important question as more and more gender diverse people are claiming their true identities, both in the workplace and outside of the workplace. Now, many times on the journey of transition, transgender persons will live a sort of life that is dual, a duality that includes living authentically at home and continuing to present as their inauthentic or assigned gender outside of the home. Now, this dual existence is hard not only on the individual, but on family members as well. It can make the psychological process of transition difficult for everyone. So, when is an appropriate time to come out at work? The decision belongs to the transgender individual and to no one else. I encourage you to consider the risks and benefits. Benefits to coming out may include closer relationships with friends and colleagues and the elimination of the stress that comes from hiding who you are. That you say you are torn between keeping the peace and living authentically suggests to me that living this duality is taking a toll on you. So you'll need to assess that within yourself. To help you make a decision on coming out, become informed on your company's policies. Are there policies such as an equal opportunity employment policy or an anti-harassment policy? Some large companies have specific policies for LGBT employees. See if your company has one or something similar. If there are none, is there legislation in your city or state that could protect you? Having knowledge of your company's administrative climate will help inform your decision. When you are ready, work with human resources and or your manager to develop a plan and timeline for coming out. This will likely need to include communication from your supervisor or manager to your colleagues with the relevant information, such as the date of your transition and your preferred name and pronouns. I think it's important to assume positive intentions in the responses from most people. Colleagues may be supportive, but not know a lot about gender identity. You can decide if it would be helpful if some sort of general education was provided to your colleagues. Coming out at work can be done successfully. A good resource on additional information on coming out at work is the National Center for Transgender Equality. And I'll be providing a link to that resource within YouTube. So take a look for that. And links for all of the resources will be provided there. Question 4. My son is 16 years old and believes he is a female. He is asking for hormones because he really does not like his masculine traits and is even talking about surgery. My husband and I are both shocked and devastated and feel that it's too early. When is the right time to start these treatments and how do we convince him to wait? I can hear your distress come through in your question, and your feelings are valid. When a child comes out as transgender, it is normal and expected to have a myriad of reactions, including shock, disbelief, anger, sadness, confusion, fear, a sense of loss, a sense of acceptance, and perhaps many other reactions. And these reactions can ebb and flow from day to day, hour to hour, even from minute to minute. This can be especially true if you did not see signs of gender diversity in your child as they were growing up. I can also hear the love you have for your child. That you are asking about what's best shows that you want to support them. This is of the greatest significance in raising a transgender child. Having support helps ensure the best chance of physical and mental health in transgender youth. Without support, the risk of deteriorating mental health and self-harm, including suicide, rises. Some information on, on transgender identity. Many people who do not identify with their birth assigned sex may have what's called gender dysphoria, a distress related to their identity and their physical body not matching. In transgender youth with gender dysphoria, the onset of puberty is often a devastating time. The development of secondary sex characteristics can cause an intense distress, leading to anxiety, depression, self harm, and poor school performance. To prevent this distress, there are drugs known as puberty blockers, and these may be administered in the early stages of puberty in order to delay the development of secondary sex characteristics. In this way, one is buying time, in essence, to give the child the opportunity to further explore their gender identity without the distress of going through a puberty that is not congruent with their identity. There have been studies demonstrating that blocking puberty can improve psychological health in these youth. Now, for some youth, gender dysphoria ceases to continue as they mature. For other youth, gender dysphoria persists. In those youth whose gender dysphoria persists, gender affirming hormones can be prescribed. These are hormones that would induce bodily changes that are in line with the identified gender. For example, an individual who is assigned male at birth but identifies as female would be prescribed estrogen in order to induce female characteristics. The age at which gender affirming hormones are prescribed varies with the individual, and it is not uncommon for a 16-year-old to have started these gender affirming hormones. To best meet your child's needs, I recommend an interdisciplinary approach to their care. Ideally, this would be a team that provides mental and physical health care. Look for providers that can also offer you support. Supporting parents is critical to supporting youth. When one member of a family comes out, this is a significant alteration to a family's dynamics and balance, so give yourself time to process it. I'd like to share some resources with you, including a listing of gender clinics. As well, I will be starting an educational support group for parents, caregivers, family members, and other loved ones of transgender children and youth. So keep an eye on this YouTube channel as well as my Facebook and website for upcoming information. I will be providing a link to the Human Rights Campaign, the Gender Clinic listing, and also the Trans Youth Equality Foundation, which is another excellent source for information. Okay, question 5. I've heard transgender people have higher rates of suicide. Why is that? Thank you for this important question. Suicide is a serious health concern and the leading cause of death in young people in the general population, and even more so in the transgender population. I'll provide some statistics from the 2015 US Transgender Survey. According to the survey, more than 80% of the respondents reported ever having thought about suicide, and almost 50% had given it serious thought in the past year. More than 40% report having attempted suicide at some point. In contrast, in the general population, according to the 2015 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, 4% of adults in 2015 had serious thoughts of suicide in the past year. General risk factors such as depression and substance abuse are not unique to the transgender population. Additional risk factors that more greatly affect the transgender population include increased incidence of discrimination, rejection, victim of violence, and lack of access to gender-affirming care. You can find more information on suicide statistics at the UCLA Williams Institute. So again, thank you for joining me for this first Q&A. Subscribe to the channel to be informed of upcoming events, including more Q&As. As well, visit me on my website, on Facebook. There you can find a form where you can ask a question anonymously. So stay well and be who you are. Until next time, take care.